Hello and welcome back. I'm ShyWizard. Going to be doing another Farming Simulator 17 Giants Editor tutorial here today. I want to just apologise for the lack of content over the last few weeks, months. I've lost count of how many days I haven't done videos. I actually broke a tooth recently and it's been very painful and it's been rubbing against my tongue. So I haven't been able to do a lot. Possible wait of like 8 weeks before I can get it repaired. So I'm struggling through it a little bit. I have been to the dentist and had some bits and pieces done, so to make it a little easier, so a short video today, and probably won't be some for a while now, unfortunately, till I get it all fixed, but I was asked to have a quick look at this, so I figured a short video wouldn't be too much of a problem. So just going to see what we get here. Was made aware of this particular mod today, actually, very short period of time ago, on the Farming Simulator mod hub, water trough add-on prefab. Just to point out, it specifically states here this is not a mod. It has to be built into the game or into the actual map through Giants Editor. It does come with its instructions and some parts that will need to be added into your mod desk and various bits and pieces like that. I've already downloaded this. It's on my desktop by GTX LS modding. There's some videos here and some pictures and bits and pieces. Have a look through all that sort of stuff. Very nice addition. Adds a few extra functionality parts that you can basically just leave your animals be and you don't have to mess about with trailers and all sorts of stuff like that, but it does obviously cost you a fair bit of money to keep this production up and running, which we'll look at in a little bit. So I'm going to close it down. There's the link. I'll put a link in the description to this particular site, but it's just literally the Farming Simulator mod hub, so shouldn't be too difficult to find, but I will put a link anyway. So I've already downloaded this, like I say, so I'm just going to extract it like so. Like I say, there's loads of bits and pieces in here that you can look at, scripts and bits and pieces. Some of it I will need, some of it I won't need. I'm just going to copy it over. I've got a map that I've been playing around with for various different things to do with animals and whatever else, with the M Company script and all sorts of stuff. So just move that over there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to come into here and I'll make a new folder, I think, and I'm just going to call this water trough add-on. That'll be fine. Call it whatever you want to call it. Now what you could do is literally just drag the entire lot over, just stick it straight in the folder. But because I'm putting this into a map, I want to kind of structure it a little bit. So I'm going to bring over my i3D and i3D shapes because they are most important. I need those parts. The other bits I don't need there. We will look at the XML because that has our instructions. Probably won't need that if I'm honest. That's just part and parcel of the download. The textures I will need, so I'll bring those in. We can put those in that folder. And it's up to you what you do with your shaders, your sound and stuff like that, because most maps will have folders with sounds and shaders. So if you wanted to, you could look in your shaders folder. There's only one in here anyway, so it seems a little bit silly to have one folder with just one shader, and we've already got this one anyway, the FX circle shader. So to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't worry about that one. I'm going to leave that over there. I'll just change the path file name to this particular folder instead. Our shared folder. In this one we have a default normal, well, we already have that as well. So again, why double up on different textures when you don't need them? We'll have a look. We've got sounds folder. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to basically move that into there like that. That folder is now empty, so it can go bye-bye. So stick it over there. Scripts, I've got a folder with various different scripts in. So I'm going to basically, or move it because I don't want to have loads of folders everywhere. So I'm going to move that into there like so. And I can get rid of that folder. Done. So we've basically laid out where we want everything to be. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go into the actual folder that I created here. I'll open this up in Notepad++. I'm just going to rearrange the actual path file name here, or the file name, to point to the various places. So if we actually have a look at where I've put this in the shaders folder, so I have to go 1, 2 to get to the i3D. So to get to that one, I need to go //// because that points it back to folders. The shared is exactly the same, so I can do that for that one. Our sounds folder, so we need to change that to sounds, is only one step back, so I can just go .. textures are all where they need to be in the folder with the i3D. So if I now open this up in Giants Editor, we should have no errors hopefully, which we don't. Perfect. This is what we get, this is what you'll see. There's loads of bits to do with triggers and visibility nodes and all sorts of stuff like that, or invisibility nodes. Some user attributes, we'll have a look at that when we actually import it. So as long as we've got no errors at this particular point, then that's good. Like I said before, if you just wanted to bring everything over into one folder, so it makes it a little easier, then that's fine, but you will then obviously need to have slightly longer path file names or different path file names to what I'm going to have here today in the video to point to your scripts and things like that. So, you know, the structure of the folders and everything will be on you to decide how you want to lay that out in the map that you're putting together or editing or whatever else. Okay, so we have this how to install. The prefab one is just literally some explanation of the creator of the actual mod or the author and whatever else, and some bits and pieces in here. We don't really need to worry too much about any of that. It's not going to be relevant for our map import, but this one is, because it gives us a lot more information here on what we need to do to actually get it into the map through Giants Editor. And it says notes regarding Giants Editor installation. There are a couple of different language versions here of the instructions. So it says to make sure that you set the correct husbandry type, whether that be cow, sheep, pig or chicken. If it's chicken, then it again states that it must be set up with the enhanced chicken script. So these two scripts will work together. If you're using the enhanced chicken script, then you can use this water trough add-on to then work with your chickens as well, which is very, very good. There's some bits and pieces in here explaining all the attributes to do with the maintenance per day, whether you want it to allow to fill from rainwater. So if you set that to true, it will collect the water when it rains and whatever else and fill the trough for you, which is very, very nice. You can deactivate that if you prefer not to have it that way and want to be more interactive. I mean, it depends on, I haven't run this with seasons, so I don't know if the seasons mod will have any issues with this. There's no information to say that it won't or will. That's something you guys will have to test for yourselves, run it with seasons and see if that causes problems. But base standard game setup, it doesn't rain that much, so setting it to true, you could take an advantage of when it does actually rain. If you are running it with seasons, obviously it will rain potentially a little bit more, perhaps, I don't know, depends on the algorithm running the script, I guess, when it's going to rain. I have no control over that, so again, that's going to be up to you. Set it to fill from rainwater or not, whatever you feel is appropriate for your playstyle and whatever. So again, it says down here, there's another attribute which says is owned by start or on start. So if you tick that box, which we will look at when we actually get to import it into the map, then none of the other attributes will be relevant, because you're going to own it straight from the get-go. So you won't have to then wait for it to be built. You won't have to buy it, so there'll be no purchase cost. Total hours to build it won't be relevant because it'll already be built, and so on and so on. So there's some bits and pieces there that you will again need to work with your play style and then decide whether it's something you want to have at the start of a new game save, or whether it's something that you want to actually purchase and then wait a certain amount of time for it to actually be built before you can use it, and then pay a cost on that. So scrolling on down, we go through the other language, German, I believe. Yep, so got two different languages, so that's fine. And then it says we've got some scripts which operate correctly. You're required to add in the following information to your mod desk. So we need to add in our script, and obviously you need to work out wherever you've put your script. Adapt the file name to the appropriate folder structure so it points in the right place to find the script. And then some text here that will be displayed in our menu to give us the information on what we're actually going to do with it. Now again, obviously if you're going to set this one to owned at start, some of these parts will be become irrelevant, because it won't you won't get the purchase menu because you will already own it, and so on and so on. And then we have an input binding to actually then run the operation of the water trough add-on to fill up our trough and so on. So with that, let's minimize that one down, and we'll open up the mod desk. We'll do this now, might as well, we're here. So I'm just going to come down. I've got loads and loads of bits and pieces on this particular map. I want to use this particular map because I wanted to see if it would conflict with any other scripts. I've got M Company factory script and some other bits and pieces, not massive amounts, but there are bits and pieces on this map that I wanted to just double check whether it was going to cause conflicts and whatever else, because the M Company factory Lua script does have a fill from rain set up within that particular script, or at least the add-on script, I believe it does. So I wanted to just double check if there was going to be any conflicts, but from what I can tell so far there has not been, so that's really, really good again. So I'm going to actually take this because I want to just split it up so I can actually see where certain parts end and where certain parts start. So I'm just going to add this in. You don't have to do this. Water trough add-on. Perfect. And then we'll do like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the text. If you're building a map, then it's just from a direct sample mod map or something like that, you may not have your L10N tags, so you'll need to copy those as well. If you already have them, don't copy them again, because you'll cause a conflict, because it will see 2 and then it will get really upset with itself. So if you already have them, just start at the top of the text line here and then work your way to the bottom and take all of this. If you do not have them, then obviously you'll need to take the entire section including the tags, whichever way is going to work for your setup. So we'll make a copy of all of that because I've got the L10N tags already. I don't need them again, and I'm just going to paste it in like so. Need my input binding. Again, with input bindings, if you don't have any on the map you're working with, then you'll need the tags as well. I already have some, so I don't need those tags. I can just take the text within. So I'm going to make a copy of that. We'll come over somewhere down the bottom of the map. Again, this is up to you, but I'm just going to make a couple of spaces here. I'll paste that in, and then I'm going to take my water trough add-on text here, just so I can add that in as well, to kind of separate everything so I know what binding does what, basically, when I look at it. Again, I'm always editing stuff and playing around. If I come in here, obviously it does say water trough add-on within the name there, but sometimes these input bindings, they're not the most obvious, and you can then delete something and it doesn't work and you're not sure what you've done to break it, and just by putting small little text tags in there, it just gives you an indication on what does what, so it can be sometimes helpful. Anyway, so next thing then I'm going to do is bring over my script. Again, like all the others, if you don't have any extra source files, you'll need to include the tags. If you do have scripts, then you won't need to copy those, just the actual extra source file, path file name, and so on, like so. So we'll get to our scripts here. I'm going to do like so. And you can see that my path file name is slightly different to the original one, so I need to also add in my maps text so that that particular path file name suits where my scripts are actually located, which is in maps and scripts. Okay, fantastic. So I could go ahead and save that now. I've got all the information I need there. Close all that down. You don't need to include any of this stuff in the actual map itself. So we can now actually get rid of all of those because we don't need any of that stuff. We've tried to optimize it as best we can by not having folders upon folders with shared folders and shared shaders and so on and so on. So yeah, again, up to you how you want to do that. I'm just going to go with that. Just makes it a little easier. When you start to add in so much to a map, you can have like this folder's got shaders, this one's got shaders, this one's got shared files, and they all share the same file, and it's just got too many folders and too many different textures that are duplicates of something else. Tends to then de-optimize things, and you know, just not really where we want to go. So I'm going to now open up the map in Giants Editor. Okay, so in Giants Editor I've come over to the sheep area, and I've done this specifically because in the testing that I did to get this all working, just getting my head around everything. I found that the terrain that you're actually placing this on needs to be fairly sort of flat, if you know what I mean. Level, I guess, is a better word, because I tried it at the cow area, and because it's not kind of consistent, I'll just very briefly show you again. This is just an edit of Goldcrest Valley, so if we just shoot over to here somewhere, go over to the water trough, you can see that because this slopes has this sharp sort of dip here, when you actually put the mod into the map, in regards to which way you have it round, it either is too high over here because the ground again dips there, the mod itself, or over here the terrain is too high and then the mod disappears underneath the map. And obviously you can have a play around with it and restructure it however you want it to be, but for me it didn't sort of work, at least not for the video, because I want to get this kind of put together as quickly as possible in the actual map and whatever. I don't want to spend an hour doing, you know, moving one pipe at a time and so on and so on. I have to restructure the whole thing. So, but I just wanted to show you that for me, when I did the testing, I thought I'll do the cows. So I come over here, imported it, then tried to place it, and no matter what direction or rotation I had it, it just was either under the ground or under the terrain or too high, and it would have taken far too long to then restructure everything to get it placed in a certain way. But you guys can take a little bit more time and obviously get it to work, I'm sure, and place it however you want to place it. You don't necessarily have to have certain parts, you know, right here. You can move them away or whatever else and adjust the terrain and so forth to suit. But for this, I didn't really want to play around with that too much. So again, I'm just going to whip over to the sheep area here, because this is already set up with a flat terrain or a level terrain sort of thing. So I think for this it'll work a little bit easier, even though that shed is in the way, but that's fine. Or not in the way, but it is when you're trying to mess around with stuff in GE, because sometimes I want to get really low and just make sure everything's whatever, and you've got a barn in the way, but that's fine, we'll work around it. So what I'll do then is I'm just going to minimize that down again, and we'll just import it into the map. So again, like everything else, just file, import. I've got this in my documents file because it's in my mods file, so I'm just going to make sure I'm actually in the right one. And we'll go into here. I've got my WT add-on folder we created with all the bits and pieces. So I'll just double click on the i3D and we'll bring it into the map. Not going to make any new transform groups because it's got its own. It's very clear what it is, so don't need to mess about with that too much. So I'm just going to go edit, interactive placement, and we'll click and bring it somewhere close. And we'll just bring it into position. Can be a bit tricky, but we'll get it there. So trying to line this one up to the edge of the trough here. While keeping that one where it needs to be. Not too bad. First time. Okay, excellent. There we go. So we've got everything there. Our nuts and bolts all showing through, and the plate, base plate, whatever else. That's really nice. Again, this comes back to a nice level terrain does help with all these sorts of things. And we have our trigger over here with all of our build parts, which will be displayed as this is being put together. Like I said before, in the attributes, which we'll have a quick look at. So if I actually highlight it, we have some user attributes over here. If this window isn't open, just go window and then user attributes and it'll pop up. And you can see in here we have some bits and pieces, and one of them is this is owned on start. If you tick that, then obviously when you start a new game save, you will own this water trough add-on at the start of a new game save, so none of the building process will take place, and you will see basically this part here with the water tap and your two spouts. None of these other pipes will be shown because they will just be invisible, I guess, because it's not being built. You've already built it. You're not having to purchase it in game. Whereas if you leave that unticked, then you will have to purchase it for whatever cost it is, and then build it over a certain amount of time, and then whatever else. And obviously you can change some parts in. Your build cost is set to 5,000. You could increase that, decrease that, whatever else, and so on. Don't need to mess about too much else. Your maintenance per day is set to 20. Again, if you wanted to, you could change that to less or more, whatever you choose to do there. You might want to set it to 0 so it doesn't cost you anything per day for maintenance. Not sure if that's very realistic, but again, depending on your playstyle, whatever you choose to do there is up to you. So most importantly in here is the husbandry type. This must be selected to the type of husbandry you're applying it to. Now again, we're setting this up for our sheep, so I need to change that to match. So I'm just going to type in there sheep. Easy, not too difficult really. It's fairly straightforward, very well laid out and put together mod, very impressive. So yeah, there's not too much that needs to be changed. If you don't want to get involved with all the other stuff, just leave it as it is and just change your husbandry type. That is the key. Don't change that and then have it applied to the wrong husbandry type. It won't work properly. So other than that, there's nothing really needs to be adapted. Again, like I said, if you're going to be putting this on somewhat uneven terrain, or you want to have it at a different angle or whatever else, then you will need to come into here, move your player trigger around a little bit, move your build parts. You may need to come in and move some separate parts, because it is showing when you click on the main transform group you have all of it selected. So obviously you may need to select each individual pipe and then move them around and do whatever else needs to be done for the terrain that you're applying it to. But otherwise I would stick with something that's got as level as a terrain as possible, and if it isn't level, then level it. You know, make sure it's level, because I think the terrain is easier to adapt more than what this is, because you'll just end up with bits that don't look right otherwise, in my opinion. But again, that will be on you to experiment with and see what you can get out of it. Okay, so we've now got it in the map. That's it really. We don't need to change anything in there. I've adapted the husbandry type to sheep, which is what we've got here, so that's fine. So we can go ahead and click save. We've applied our script and we've set all the mod desk up and whatever else, linking it all together. So once the map is actually saved here in GE, I can close this down, we'll go into game, and then we'll just have a look at it, and hopefully things will be as they should and it'll all work. So yeah, we'll do that next. So I'm in game and I'm just going to do a magical teleport over to the sheep area here, like so. If we come around to our trough, you can see that there are no parts already on the trough because I haven't purchased it yet, because I didn't set it to own at start. I have to actually purchase the water trough add-on mod. So as it is at the moment, you would just fill this up the same way as you always have. Just get a water bowser and then fill it up as is. You can still do that with the water trough add-on. I believe this just gives you the added functionality of being able to fill it up without having to use a trailer. The trigger is still there for a trailer, a water bowser, so you know that should work no problem. But this particular mod is just to give you another way of playing the game, I guess, another way of filling up your trough without having to use the water bowser. So if we come over, I've got the F1 menu up here. If we come into the trigger, we do get a nice little display in the bottom there, tech farm, purchase water fill point with the R key, which is also shown in our F1 menu. It does show water fill levels at 0 at the moment. So if I press the R key, it will then come up with this information window. Would you like to pay 5,000 to install the new pipeline to allow direct filling of the sheep water trough? And this is where it comes back to that user attribute for the husbandry type, because if I'd left that at cow, even though I've applied the actual water trough add-on to the sheep trough, this would then fill up the water trough for the cows, not the sheep. So that user attribute must be set correctly, otherwise it will all screw up and go wrong. It does tell you here you've got a maintenance cost of £20 per day. Again, you can change that if you want to, along with the cost in your user attributes, whatever you decide to do there. So I'm going to go yes, I do want to purchase it. Then tells me a local plumber will arrive at 6 in the morning to install your new tech farm fill system. Installation will be completed at 2 in the afternoon. Fantastic. And if you then, you know, go away, you do whatever else on the farm, come back, and you think, I wonder when he's coming, press R, or she, press R and it'll tell you or remind you. So that information is always there until it's completed. So, you know, you can, if you forget or whatever else and you think, has that plumber not been yet, you can always come back and then see, oh yeah, he doesn't come till 6 tomorrow or whatever. So that information is always there, it doesn't go away until it's built, it will be there. So I'm just going to use the fast forward mod. We'll zoom round to 6 tomorrow for the next day, get close, there we go. And as you can see, it's gone past 6, so he's turned up and it tells you here now, construction of a new tech farm water filling system has started, installation will be completed in 8 hours. He's dropped off some parts that are required here to make this work. So if we just speed up time a little bit further here, there's one pipe that's now been installed, and it now tells me it's going to take 7 hours. So as you progress through the build, it will actually give you information on how long is left for the completion of the water trough add-on. So we'll just go around again, another part's now appeared, so 6 hours. Go a bit more, let me turn that off so you can see a bit more of the screen, and now another part has appeared. So we've got a spout appeared over here, and again if I come back into here, press R, we have 4 hours till completion. So it does count down, it does give you information. You can always come back and just double check to see how it's getting on and whatever else. So we can go a bit further, another pipe's appeared over here. So, and that looks pretty good actually. We have our base plate there with the bolts showing through, really nice. So I can go, yep, 3 hours till completion, fantastic. We go again and our tap has appeared, or our whatever that is, stopper, I don't know. So we go a bit further and our tap has now appeared. So yeah, there's a lot of bits to this, just don't know what they're called. Anyway, so we'll go a bit further and there we go. So now that's actually done, and if we come in here and then press R, it fills. Fantastic. Tap all moves, it fills up. We now have water in our trough. Go into our escape menu, come around to our sheep, and the water has been filled up under sheep, which is what we set it to. So theoretically, I've not tested it personally, but if I was to get the user attribute incorrectly, so if I was to build this on the sheep trough like I have here, but forget to set the user attribute to sheep for husbandry type, then theoretically when I filled it, it would then show the water in whatever I left it at. So if I left it at cows, it would then show up under cows. So obviously, you know, that is the most important part of it, making sure that husbandry type in the user attribute is set to the correct animal that you're going to be applying the water trough add-on to. But there we go. So yeah, pretty straightforward mod. Very, again, like I said, very well laid out. It's got all you need. Can't fill it up anymore because it's already filled up 100%. But yeah, so you know, instructions are very well put together, and you've got all you need there. But I just wanted to do a quick video here just to say, you know, again, apologies for the lack of content, but been struggling a little bit. If I talk for really long periods of time, it does start to get quite painful, so I've tended not to try to do that, but I thought this video would be relatively short, so I just wanted to put this together for you guys. So if anybody's interested in looking at this, I think it's a really good add-on. So you know, I wouldn't do it if I didn't. I'm ShyWizard, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.